Patrick. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Good. Hi, Patrick. How are you?
I'm good. How's your spring been?
It's been good. It's been good. Productive.
Good. Question for you, and this doesn't apply certainly to all your hitters, but to some of them it does. The strikeout rate for some of the guys you need to produce this year was pretty high last year, and I'm talking about uh, certainly Sam Hilliard, Hampson, even Rymack. Uh, what can they do, or what have they done uh, to turn that around?
Well, like anything else with hitting, it's usually very fluid. I think the one thing we've tried to address is being a little more aggressive on the fastball and doing not only doing more damage on the fastball, but putting it in play more with authority. I think we're in all the categories on the fastball, we're near the bottom of the league as far as putting it in play and the expected slug on the fastball in the zone. So we've really tried to shine a light on that with the guys and make it something in spring training that we're trying to concentrate on. Not only with those guys that you mentioned, but everybody on the team, because as a team we've struggled with that. So I think we've seen some improvements at some times, and then we take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But I think overall, the guys are trying to make it a big point in all their work in the cage and in pregame stuff, and hopefully it shows up when the season starts.
One of the guys that I'm really intrigued with is Sam Hilliard, because I think it's obvious even to a medium member how much talent he has as an athlete and as a ball player. And he's spoken to us a couple of times about uh, not overswinging, uh, realizing that home runs just let him happen, etc. But I know sometimes that's a difficult thing for a big, powerful guy to make a natural part of his game. Where do you think he is in that process right now?
Well, he's working on it. As you mentioned, it is a process, and when you're big and strong and you've got incredible bat speed, uh, it seems like your job every day is to try and manage that effort level. And when you feel good, it's easy to get into that mode where you get in the game situation, the adrenaline's pumping, and you get a good pitch to hit, and you try and do too much with it, and you end up fouling it off. And I think that's what happened to Sam yesterday. So it's you have your peaks and valleys, and I think his peaks have been better this spring. But he realizes it, that when he gets a good pitch hit, in the big leagues you don't get too many chances, especially pitches in the middle of the plate. When pitchers make mistakes, you got to make them pay. End the at bat when the at bat needs to end, and he certainly had some games where he's done that, and he's had some games like yesterday where he let the pitcher escape with some mistakes in the middle of the plate. So he understands that, and it's true with really all the hitters. It's you can think about your swing and the mechanics of your swing and all that, but controlling the effort level is a constant bone of contention with not only guys on our team but around the league. And I think that's one of the reasons you see the strikeout totals around the league that have gone through the roof. So I think if we manage that effort level, not only with Sam but everybody on our team, I think if you talk to from Sam all the way to Charlie, a veteran guy, he's constantly trying to manage how hard he's swinging, and understanding that when your effort level goes up, the pitches that you swing at that are both in and out of the zone go up too. You tend to chase more because you've got to do more to get your swing started, and you got to make your decisions earlier. So all those things play a part in the chase rate and missing good pitches to hit in the middle of the plate. And we all the guys are working on it.
One more for you, and I'll let somebody else jump in. Garrett Hampson, from my vantage point, he seems like he has really good bat to ball skills. And I'm not talking about just about the bunt, the ability to bunt, but be able to take it to one side of the infield or the other. Do you agree? And do you think that can be going forward one of his strengths as an offensive player, the ability to situational hit, put the ball where he needs to, on occasion.
Yeah, I mean, his profile, I think, is a guy that, has the occasional power, but when he's good, he's using the whole field. We saw that yesterday. The only run that we ended up scoring was a base hit that he got. He kind of punched a breaking ball in the right field with 2 strikes. And when he's putting the ball in play with 2 strikes, we're not looking for him to, the power's going to be there, but his strength is going to be in getting on base, wreaking havoc when he's on the bases. I think he's got a pretty good eye, so he's going to be able to get on base via the walk. But he can hit too. But he's another guy that, that effort level is big with him, because when that effort level goes up with him, his leg kicks, gets bigger, his hand movements get bigger, and he ends up missing pitches that he should be putting in play with authority. So he's aware of that, but certainly his strength is being able to use the whole field, using his legs once he's on the bases, and creating situations where the pitcher's got to pay attention to him on the bases, and then that makes the hitters behind him even better.
Great stuff, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thomas Hardy. Go ahead, Thomas.
Hey, Dave. How's it going today, man?
Good, Thomas. How are you?
Beautiful. Hey, have a few for you, but first, just as spring training goes on, have you felt these guys have done situationally? I know we've seen a couple glaring situations. The one you were, I think, just talking about, I missed the beginning. One, I think it was Friday against the Indians. But where's this thing going situationally? Because you guys are going to have to do well situationally hitting to win.
Absolutely. I don't care who you are. The guy on third, less than 2 outs, runners at first and second, nobody out, runner at second, nobody out. When you're not moving runners with outs, or getting guys in from third to either a sacrifice fly or base hit, or even an infield ground out that pushes the run across. So those are the things we have to excel at. It hasn't been very good this spring. I believe we're right at 50%, maybe a little bit below 50% after yesterday. So those are situations that we've got to take advantage of, and that, in part, to blame for that is a strikeout rate. You saw yesterday where Josh Fuentes hit that leadoff triple, and then we ended up punching out. The next 3 hitters ended up punching out. So that's something that can't happen. The guys are aware of it, but it's one of those things where you have to speak to it, but you don't want to make it such a huge thing where guys start to press when they're in those situations. What we try and do is just give them a mindset, an approach to have in those situations, make them understand that the pitcher is the one that needs to make pitches and he's the one in trouble. But that a lot of times that's easier said than done. So I think the biggest thing when you're in those big situations like that is to try and relax, take deep breaths, get some oxygen into your system, and pitch selection. A lot of times you're trying to get it over with quickly, and you end up chasing early in the count, and then you fall behind in the count, and then you're battling. So there's a lot there. As you can tell, there's a lot of factors that enter into the situational hitting. But first and foremost is getting a good pitch to hit, and the ability to slow the game down, slow the heart rate down, and understand that when you get a good pitch to hit in those situations, more often than not, you're going to get the job done.
What is Charlie working on this spring?
Charlie is your typical veteran guy that's trying to navigate through spring training. First and foremost, stay healthy. I think he has a process during spring training. I think what you'll see now in the next week is him ramping it up a little bit. I think you'll see him driving the ball a little bit more. So we're not really concerned about Charlie at this point. I think he went through a period of time a few days ago where he took an extra day off to just get his legs underneath him, and I think his BPs have been better over the last week, and I think over this last week of the spring you'll probably see him starting to drive the ball a little bit more.
This may relate to Charlie, it may relate to others, but not having minor league games are there guys that's hurting where maybe if they take a day off from the A game, they could go and get 7 at-bats in a minor league game? I mean, has that been an adjustment for guys, or how are guys getting extra at-bats that they're not getting in those minor league games?
Yeah, we don't have minor league games right now, but we do have some B games, especially this last week, where we're going to be able to have guys go over there if they want to and get, like you said, 6, 7, 8 at-bats in one day, lead off every inning. So that's going to be available to guys if they want it, and I think maybe Charlie might take advantage of that one day. But it is a slight disadvantage for guys, but I think we're still going to have it available in a different setting, in the B game setting. We've got a lot of pitching in camp, guys that need to get their arms cranked up for a potential season for the minor leaguers and for the guys going to the alternate camp. So, they've got to get themselves in shape too. So we got some B games and some sim games that we're going to be looking at here where guys can get ABs.
Does that usually happen earlier in camp, though, when you do have the minor leaguers that you're able to get some hitting in, or is it usually this time of I'm thinking it's usually early that guys get their extra at-bats.
We're probably lagging behind maybe a week as far as that's concerned. We've had B games. I believe we've had 2 or 3 B games where guys have been able to get at-bats if they wanted them. But I think usually the minor league games usually start maybe a week after they start when the pitchers and catchers show up to minor league camp. So we're probably lagging a week from years past, but the at-bats are going to be there if they need them.
Okay. I think that's it for me right now. I'll probably think of something later. Thank you.
All right, Thomas.
All right, we have about 5 minutes left here. Chase Ringlesby, if you want to go ahead.
Max, Coors Field, it's got a reputation of being a great hitter's ballpark or whatever. What are the challenges of being a hitting coach for a team that calls Coors Field home?
Oh, wow. Well, I think it's the obvious where, especially when we have a long homestand, 9-10 game homestand, and then we immediately go to like a place like San Francisco, LA, places that are at sea level where I think it wreaks havoc on your body. I think the ball breaks a little bit differently when you go on the road. The breaking balls seem to be a little bit sharper. Breaking balls that kind of rolled in there at Coors Field now are a little sharper. So as a hitter, when it starts in a particular area, maybe at Coors Field it stays more in the upper part of the strike zone. Then when you go on the road, it's a little bit sharper. It ends up being at the bottom of the zone or even in a chase location below the zone. So I think those are really the two biggest things. There's certainly the confidence factor when you're at Coors. I played at Coors, so I know when I was in the box there, I felt like there were no defenders out there. It just seemed like there was just green area for the ball to drop in. And there's a lot of payback when you put the ball in play at Coors, and not necessarily hard. It's not only the home runs that seem to travel, but it seems like there's a lot of cheap hits, a lot of blue pits, because there's a lot of acreage out there for the outfielders to cover. So you certainly hit with a lot of confidence at Coors. So, but that's something we're trying to, mentally get away from the psychology of, being at Coors and feeling like everything's going to be a hit, and then going on the road and having the complete opposite mindset. I think it begins and ends. We see a lot of fastballs as a team, especially at Coors, more than really any other team in baseball. And we've got to take advantage of that. We can't continue to survive on missing fastballs in the middle of the plate and then trying to do the damage on the soft stuff, on the spin, on the mistakes in the middle of the plate, because on the road we're not getting quite as many of those mistakes. So, cover the fastball, be ready to hit the fastball, don't let the pitchers off the hook, get yourself in good counts, and when you get a good pitch to hit, end the at-bat in a good way. So, but I think I've grown accustomed, or maybe I've gotten a new respect for how hard it is to play at Coors and be a Colorado Rocky as far as what it does to your body. But these guys do a really great job of taking care of themselves, and it's certainly a different mentality you have to have as a player, being a Rocky. But I think especially this year, I think we're going to meet the challenges of the home and road splits, and hopefully it'll be for the positive.
Just wondering, I mean, you live down in the Tampa Bay area, and Hurdle does too. He was a hitting coach here and a manager. Do you guys have any type of interaction just to talk about the mentality at Coors Field?
We initially, when I first got the job, we exchanged texts about it. I've not been in touch with Clint over the last year or so, but certainly in talking to the players and talking to the coaches that are currently on the staff, it's real, and I think I have an appreciation for it now, how difficult it can be, but we're going to make the best of it, and I think you can win here, and teams have proved that they can win here and still be effective on the road, and that's something we're going to have to do as a team if we're going to end up having a winning season.
Yes, sir.
Hey, go ahead.
Yeah, hey Dave, just to bore in on a couple of things that you've already said here, specifically with Raimel Tapia going back to the top of the order. How many conversations have you had with him, even going back to last season, about any adjustments he's needed to make? I know he's done that. He's hit leadoff before, but it was in the minor leagues. This is different. And then, just in general, about him hitting leadoff, but then also separately with two strikes. He used to have a very extreme 2-strike approach.
Right.
Is it something that he needs to be even more aware of as a leadoff now, too, separately? And then, and was there ever any thought to him going back to that kind of approach?
Tap, has the ability. He's got some great bat to ball skills. But I think when he was at his most effective last year was not necessarily when he was walking up, because at one point, the first month of the season, he was leading our team in walks when he was thrust into that leadoff spot. And then probably the last month when he was, everything he hit seemed to fall in for a hit. He got probably a little ultra aggressive the last 3 weeks of the season. With Tap, it begins and ends with him staying in the strike zone. It doesn't necessarily mean walking, but it means him being disciplined enough to getting his pitch to hit, being stubborn for it. It could be the first pitch of the at-bat, but he's got to be stubborn for it. He can't afford to go up there and be this hyper-aggressive, swinging at everything guy, because, he's got enough track record now in the league where teams know that when he's really aggressive like that, he tends to chase a little bit. So this spring, he's kind of been in that mode where he's been really aggressive. He's chasing balls out of the zone. We talked to him about it. Specifically, we talked to him about it yesterday, that, with this last week to go on spring training, we need to start preparing for, the 162 game grind. And if, he wants to be our leadoff hitter, he's got to make sure that he's got the right approach. We're not looking for him to walk. Certainly the walk's a good thing. And I think when he's staying in the strike zone, he's going to get himself in good counts. And when he's doing that, he tends to swing at more strikes. And when he's swinging at strikes, he's going to barrel the ball up. So he understands that, we're getting in that mode now where we're getting ready for the season and the long haul. So I think yesterday's game was a good indication.
Thanks a lot for doing this, Dave. I appreciate it.
All right, Nick.
All right, just really quickly, Thomas and Patrick, follow-ups.
Okay, really quickly on Charlie. Can you explain his evolution as a guy who was a very self-contained fellow and now is a little bit more of a, I hate the word leader in this, but as far as maybe sharing some things with others or maybe being able to influence other hitters?
Yeah. Charlie has been fantastic. Maybe it was the first time he was asked to share things with the team. I think individually he's always open to talking to guys and trying to make guys better and you know, he's got an open door policy, right? If guys ask him stuff, he's great. He's a great sharer of what he knows and what he's tried to do as a player. This year we took a little different tack. We got him in front of the group and we asked him to say some stuff to the group that I thought was very important. And 95% of it had to do with effort level that we think is a culprit in us not doing the same or not doing the damage that we feel like we should do on fastballs in the middle of the plate. And he talked about that to the group, what he tries to do, and it was pure gold, man. I wish we would have recorded it because it was fantastic stuff. So, you know, when Sally and TD and I talked about ways to reach guys about this, you know, as coaches, you can talk about this stuff till you're blue in the face and you can talk about it every day, but there's absolutely nothing like a superstar player getting in front of the group and saying and reiterating what we're trying to get guys to do. And it's his mantra, right? He does this stuff. Not only does he preach it, he tries to do it when he's in the box, and it's part of what makes him such a great hitter. So we decided to tap on that source, and he came through with flying colors.
Hey, thanks. I had another one, but that's so good, I'll just pass it over to Patrick.
All right.
All right, Patrick, quickly so Max can get to the cages.
Yeah, very, very quickly, Max.
Sure.
Colton Welker told us yesterday, I believe it was, that he really thinks he's major league ready. And I think it's cool that he would say that. And his spring training numbers, every time he's been there, have been off the charts. From your vantage point, very quickly, what's the next step for him as a batter?
He just needs at bats. You know, what happened last year with the lack of game experience that these guys had, you know, he's only played at the AA level. I'm a big fan of Colton. Probably what I love the most, I mean, he's a talented hitter, but what I love about him most is that kind of what he said to you means that he's got that confidence. He's not, you know, he's never shaken in the middle of a game. You know, he's had some at-bats against some pretty good pitching, not only this year, but last year in spring training. And he knows he can hit. And that's a big thing because there's always a little bit of self-doubt in these young players. He doesn't seem to have a lot of self-doubt. So he knows he can hit. And I think he just needs the experience in the game at bats against major league pitching. And I think, like he's done throughout his career, he's going to make his adjustments that he needs to make. And you know, I'll leave it up to his. You know, it's not for me to say whether he's ready or not right now. But I think he just needs game at bats against really good pitching to make the adjustments he needs to make. And certainly, I feel pretty good about him having, you know, big league at bats. He's never overmatched. So, you know, I love his confidence.
Excellent stuff, man. Thank you so much.
All right.